Nikki. Welcome to the Soft but Savage Method Conversations in Becoming. I am a divorced mom of 5, grandma of 7, and I launched my coaching business about a year ago for women who are navigating life's big transitions and looking for a little bit of guidance and support. So this podcast is about those things that you expected when life changed, but also, and maybe more so, those things that you didn't. There are a lot of things that you don't expect when life throws these big changes at you, or at least things that I didn't expect. If you or somebody that you know is going through something big, a breakup, a divorce, empty nest, career change, or just some other big life event, this podcast is for you and for them. So I started this podcast as a way to help support women like you outside my coaching business, to help guide you and let you know that whatever you're feeling at whatever time, you are not alone. The topic of today's episode is something that sadly so many of us have experienced, and that would be divorce and how you can rebuild your life afterwards. So one thing I don't think that we realize is that divorce is not just the end of our relationship. Yes, it's that, and that can be very sad. It can be very traumatizing. But along with that relationship itself disappearing is the feeling that you've lost your identity, the loss of your normal routines, the loss of any future plans that you had with that partner, and the loss of certainty around just how your life is going to go. So I was married for over 21 years when I decided that I needed to leave my marriage. This was not a spur of the moment decision. I had been wrestling with this choice for several years. And there wasn't one big mitigating factor that I said, okay, you know what, this is it. It was really just years of not being heard, not being understood, not being treated as if my thoughts or my beliefs mattered. So by the time I was ready to walk away, I was ready. I knew what I wanted, I knew what I didn't want, and I knew how I wanted my life to progress. Not only did things not go the way I expected or that I planned, but I also didn't expect some of the feelings and emotions that it brought up. And sometimes, honestly, continues to bring up. Even though I was the one who made that final decision to leave, it was still hard. You know, we had our whole lives together. Like I said, we've been married more than 21 years. We'd raised our children together. We had planned our future together. We had a home and a farm and animals and, you know, all of these things that we wanted to do as we got older. And I never thought about the things that are unique to your own relationship, right? The things that other people just can't really understand. So our inside jokes, or the memories of our kids growing up when one of us would say, hey, remember when this kid was a baby and they did, you know, this or that funny thing. And yeah, I can tell other people, you know, my sisters, my friends, whatever, his family, and they can laugh, but it's not the same as that shared experience that the two of you have. And so it's hard thinking about, you know, I'll have a memory of when one of the kids was little and this happened or that happened, and he's not there to say, remember that was so funny, or oh my gosh, remember when she fell out of the chair, or whatever that memory is. It's that person's not there to just say, hey, remember this? And so it is hard, and that's okay. So it is okay and normal to grieve the loss of those other things that you maybe didn't expect. even if you are beyond happy to be out of that relationship, like I was, or I am, there's still going to be things that probably you did not expect to grieve, and they tend to hit you out of nowhere. Go ahead and grieve them. It is okay. And it does not mean that you made the wrong decision if your decision was the one to leave the relationship. And there's going to be a lot of things that are difficult that you don't understand why they're so difficult, why other people are making them so difficult, right? So in my case, like I said, I chose to leave, and some people didn't understand that. They didn't understand why I left, and they don't understand why I do some of the things I do. If you didn't choose to leave, if it was a choice made for you by your partner, you're going to do things that other people aren't going to understand. They don't understand why you're grieving the things that you're grieving, or why you're grieving at all sometimes. They're going to judge you. They're going to question you, who you date, if you don't date, if you change jobs, if you move away, if you stop doing all those things that you used to do. And unfortunately, and really kind of disappointingly, sometimes it's the people that you should be able to depend on for support who are the ones that aren't as supportive as you need. And that's sad, but you are capable of so much. You can do the things that you need to get through this, and just always remember that. And here's the thing. Stop feeling like you have to justify yourself to other people. You don't. You're an adult, and your choices are yours to make. And if you make mistakes, those are yours to make as well. And we're going to make mistakes. All of us make mistakes. That doesn't mean that we're doing anything wrong. That means that we're learning. So, one big thing for me, when we first split up, my ex lied to anybody and everybody who would listen. He told people I cheated on him. I did not. He told people that I was not paying my portion of the bills. We had to sell our house when we divorced. I moved out, he stayed there, and the house was on the market for quite a while, nearly a year. And he told people that I was not paying my half of the mortgage while while we were waiting for the house to be sold. Again, that was not true. The sad thing is, at least for me, even though it wasn't true, there are people who believed him. People who I thought would know that those things were not true and couldn't possibly be true. My in-laws, who had considered another set of parents, for more than 20 years, they stopped talking to me. They refused to speak to me. My father-in-law got sick right around that time, and he ended up passing away about a year after I decided that I was going to leave my marriage. And from that point until the point that he passed away, I never saw him again. And it broke my heart. I loved them, I still love them, and it was really difficult. And you're gonna have things like that happen, unfortunately. One of the things that did help me, though, that helped me heal and helped me kind of stay focused on what I needed, is that my stepdaughters, I have 2 stepdaughters who have always been, in my mind, my daughters, but they didn't choose sides. They supported me. They are still my daughters. They are still a part of my life. They're still people who love me. And so that really helped. A lot of people, they didn't understand why I left, because we didn't fight in public. I made sure of that. I didn't let people know things that were going on inside our relationship that were really none of their business. So when I made that choice to leave, they were confused, and they just assumed that it had to be some big reason. You know, one of us cheated, one of us spent all the money, one of us, whatever, I don't know, had a body in the backyard. I'm not sure. But people would reach out under the guise of being supportive when really they just wanted to know what was going on. So that's a struggle, and it will be a struggle, and you've got to make your own decisions about who you can trust and what you can trust them with. And as hard as it is and as sad as it might be, you have to stop trying to control things that are not within your control. I didn't expect to lose some of the people that I lost, but I can't change that. I can't control it. And trying to control those things is just, it's gonna drain and frustrate you at a time when you need to be focused on yourself, and if you have children, your children. So whether you made the decision to leave, like I did, or the decision was made for you, there are a few lessons that we can take from this as we move through this season of our lives. So the first thing is, you are not going to rebuild through confidence. I know that sort of sounds like it doesn't make sense, but we tend to think that it's confidence that's going to get us through this next phase of our lives, right? As we're rebuilding and moving on and doing all the things that we need to do to start over. But really, you don't rebuild through confidence. You rebuild through stability. And stability then is what's going to help us rebuild our confidence. So divorce or big breakups like this, they can really shake your confidence to the core. It can make you doubt your looks. It can make you doubt your ability to earn money. It can make you doubt your ability to make decisions, and that's a tough one. And it can make you doubt your ability as a parent. And sometimes, well, frequently, one of the hardest things or the toughest things that it does to us is that it makes us doubt our own self-worth. Please don't let that happen. You are inherently worthy. That marriage, that relationship, that is not what made you worthy. You are worthy as a person. Don't ever forget that. The ending of that relation, that didn't change that. The lies he tells, that doesn't change that. You know your own worth in here. You know it. And the people who matter, they know it too. And I know that's really easy to say, right? Sitting on the other side of it, or sitting in a position of somebody who's not gone through a situation like this. It's really easy to say, don't let those things bother you, right? But the reality is, for most of us, they do bother us. And that's okay. It is okay, because quite frankly, those things are not going to bother you forever. I am almost 2 years into, well, I guess a year and a half into my divorce being final, and some of the things that I felt, even though I didn't expect to, those things are easing up just a little bit. So just know that if you're struggling right now, things will get better, I promise you. So the second lesson we want to talk about, and we did talk about this a little bit earlier, is that grief and relief can exist at the same time. They can coexist. I can feel grief for all those things and still be relieved that the relationship is over. As I said, I was ready to leave, but I still had to process that grief over the loss of my house, my home that I loved so much, the loss of the other side of my family, that it didn't occur to me that that would happen. I grieved too that I spent all those years in a relationship pouring into that relationship when I knew a long time ago that it was not right and that I should have left. And so whatever you're grieving and in whatever form, it is okay. It's okay to be happy and still feel sad for the things that you lost. That doesn't mean you've made the wrong decision. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Third thing that I want to talk about is you do not have to have everything all figured out the minute that relationship is over. We tend to hear people say, that was 3 months ago, that was 6 months ago, just get over it. No, that's not really the way it works. Any kind of grief or any kind of rebuilding has to be done on your own timeline. Some women, parts of that timeline will be quicker than others, and parts of it will be slower than others. That doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. It doesn't mean that you should be moving on. It doesn't mean any of those things. It means that you're moving in the pace that you need to move. Take whatever time you need to take to heal from whatever wounds that you need to heal from, right? Whatever loss that you're feeling and the grief that you're feeling and the wounds that it opened, take the time that you need. And despite the pain and the grief that you might be experiencing right now, this can also be a really exciting time in your life. You get to make all the decisions. And I know for some women that's kind of scary if you're used to having a partner who help you make those decisions. But what I'm trying to say is you get to decide. You get to decide what your life looks like moving forward. You get to decide who you want to be, what you want to do, where you want to live. And if you have young children, you can make decisions for them and with them that will help them grow up to become the best versions of themselves. So will this be hard? Yes. Will you feel completely drained sometimes, or maybe a lot of the time for a while? Also yes. But in the end, when you get to the other side, will it be so completely worth it? Absolutely. So lesson 4 is about who you become. And the goal is not about trying to become the exact same person that you were before. The goal here is to become who you're meant to be next. People change throughout their entire lives. You don't stay the exact same version of yourself from, the time you graduate high school until you're in your 60s or 70s or later. You change. You learn things. Your beliefs might change. Your feelings might change, and you grow. And as sad as it could be, this is the best opportunity that you could have to start making those changes. So take that painting class that you've always wanted to take. Start a garden. Learn how to can your own produce. Make a sourdough starter. Whatever that thing is that you've always wanted to do that you didn't do for whatever reason, do it now. Don't limit yourself by trying to make yourself over into the exact same person that you were before, because probably there are things that you would want to change, and now's the great time to do that. So finally, I want to talk a little bit about what rebuilding looks like today. You're out of the relationship. If it's a divorce, maybe it's not final yet, but you're in your own space and you're ready to start rebuilding. So I think I may have mentioned this earlier. When I first left my marriage, I had all these grand plans, right? I moved into my apartment. I wasn't going to date. I was going to do this and this and this. I had all of these huge ideas about how my life was going to look. Well, guess how that worked out. Not like I thought it was going to. But the problem is that in reality, I wasn't really trying to create anything new. I was trying to recreate my old life just without my ex-husband. And of course, that didn't work. Were there things about my old life that I loved and the old me that I loved that I want to keep? Absolutely. But not all of those things made sense to stay. So I have since shifted my thinking and my actions quite a bit. I realized that rebuilding doesn't mean just recreating everything that you had before except without that person. And it doesn't mean throwing everything away and completely starting from scratch. And I was, as weird as it is, I was kind of in both of those positions at the same time. So some of those dreams and values and parts of who I was in my marriage still fit that woman that I was becoming. So those things stayed. The parts that no longer fit, so the expectations that I had of myself and that other people had of me, the roles that I had outgrown, the life that I really had built around other people's needs, those were things I had to let go of. So today I really understand, and I'm continuing to learn like all of us, but I really understand that rebuilding actually means that we're going to create a life that feels aligned with who we are now. Not who we used to be, who we are now. And that is really powerful. So I wasn't becoming someone else. I was finally giving myself permission to become more fully me. And that is what we want. Before I close today, I just want to leave you with this simple question. What part of your old life are you still trying to recreate instead of rebuilding? All right, so you don't have to have your whole future figured out today. You don't have to know exactly what your new life is going to look like. Rebuilding, it's not something that happens all at once, and nor should it. It happens one choice, one decision, one step at a time. And that's a beautiful thing. You don't have to recreate the life that you lost. You get to build something that reflects the woman you're becoming. And that just might be the greatest gift that comes from starting over. All right, so if you are navigating divorce, an empty nest, a career transition, or any season where you are trying to rebuild your life, I hope that you'll join me for future conversations. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with another woman that you think might need it, that might benefit from it at this point in her life. Until next time, keep becoming.